Welcome. We'll get started shortly. Before we begin, here's how to earn continuing professional education credit for attending this session. There are no polling questions or attendance checks. Instead, you will demonstrate your knowledge by taking a brief multiple-choice quiz using the Earmark app. Visit earmark.app in your web browser. You can also download the mobile app by scanning the QR code on the screen. Log in, or if you're new, create your free account. Be sure to use a valid email address because that's where we'll send your course completion certificates. From the home screen, scroll down to find the course. You can also tap the magnifying glass icon to search for the course. Tap on the course artwork, then the Enroll button. On the Course tab, you'll find the recording and quiz questions. Complete the quiz to earn your CPE certificate. It takes us a few days to create the course on the app, so if you are attending this session live, please wait a few days. We'll email you a link to the course when it is ready. If you have questions or need help, email us at support@earmarkcpe.com. And now, on to the event.
Hello, everyone watching live or on demand. In this presentation, we're going to be discussing how to win the talent war through inbound recruitment. So what exactly can you expect from today's session? It's going to be action-packed, and I'm going to give you the exact steps on how you can create this inbound recruitment system so that you don't have to worry about where your next new hire is coming from, and you can actually reach your goals, whether that's working less hours, having more profits to give to charity, being able to create more jobs for those in the economy. Whatever your goal is, you being able to attract talent is key. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm someone who, if I'm going to sit through a session, I want to have tangible takeaways. I don't just want to be hearing things that sound good or sound nice and then have to go back and research them. I want to actually get the steps to do so. So that's exactly what you're going to learn on our webinar here today. And if you're joining me live, I'd love to hear in the chat where you're tuning in from. Now, before we get into this exact strategy, there are a few things that you need to have in place before I can teach you how to create this inbound recruiting system. And so number one is you have to actually be a great firm. I probably can't teach you how to build an inbound recruiting system if you aren't a great firm. Great talent wants to work for a great firm. And I want to double click into this for a second, and then we'll come back to points 2 and 3. We've got Chad here from Kansas City. Woohoo! So it's really important before you start thinking about, okay, how can I overcome this talent shortage to evaluate, am I actually a great firm? But when you ask that, it's like, what does make a great firm? At the core, you have to offer what accountants truly want, which is fulfilling careers. And actually, Flowcast and the University of Georgia, they did a study around what is this that accountants want? And more specifically, like, what are fulfilling careers? And at the center of everything, accountants want a couple of things. They want growth opportunities. So as accountants, we seek career progression. So it's really important that you have and showcase these clear pathways for growth, mentorship, and continuous learning. Another thing that I think most of us can relate to that accountants want is flexibility, right? We all want flexible schedules. In today's world, there's no reason why we can't. So the data, they actually found too that most workers, they're more productive outside of a traditional office. So not only are you giving people what they want, but it found that they're more productive. Now, this goes along with the next point. People want work-life balance. This same study, they found that 57% of accountants won't consider a new job if the work-life balance is poor. So work-life balance is an absolute must. And then this final point is super important. Because accountants, they want work-life balance, they want flexibility, and they want growth opportunities, how can you make that a reality? Well, technology is a major key. In fact, the study that Flowcast and the University of Georgia did, they found that accountants care so much about the technology stack that at least 80% of the respondents said that it's very likely something that they're going to ask about in the job interview. What is your technology stack? So it's crucial that you're investing in purpose-built technology that streamlines tasks, enables growth. So for example, using systems like Forwardly, they allow you to have effortless and instant bill payments. Solutions like this are game changers. Your team, they want to grow in their roles, and they can't be growing if you have them chasing something as simple as payments. So key takeaway here, firms that prioritize growth, flexibility, work-life balance, and have strong tech environments, those are going to help you best position yourself to attract top accounting talent. Speaking of new technology, thank you to our sponsor of today's webinar, Forwardly. In case you haven't heard of them, it's a new AP and AR solution for small businesses in the USA. And they were recently named a winner of the 2024 CPA Practice Advisor Technology Innovation Award. It's the only payment solution in the USA currently utilizing the FedNow service from the Federal Reserve to deliver payments in only 60 seconds. I actually experienced this using them myself. It's amazing. Signing up for an account is free. Yep, free, and incurs no monthly fees. So go ahead, give it a try yourself. Sign up for free at forwardly.com. All right. So we talked about the first thing that you need to have if you want to build an inbound recruiting system. Number one is you must be a great firm and you're giving accountants what they truly want, fulfilling careers, which means part of that is leveraging great technology to do so. Now, the second point is you have to be willing to build relationships. If you aren't willing to build relationships, I probably can't teach you how to build this inbound recruiting system. And finally, the third thing is you have to be willing to share information. You have to be willing to talk about why your firm's different, how you're overcoming the common challenges and pain points that many accounting firms aren't solving, your leadership philosophy, what excites you, and your why. If not, then I probably can't help you attract great talent. But if you can do all three of these things, then I can help you. Now, I think it's always nice to know just a little bit about your presenter and who you're hearing from. So who am I? I'm Katie Thomas, CPA, if we've not met before. I'm a 40 under 40 CPA Practice Advisor recipient, Top 50 Women in Accounting recipient, and the owner of Leaders Online, where we work with accounting firms and accounting fintech companies to help them increase their impact, influence, and income. And over the years, I've worked with hundreds of accountants, bookkeepers, CPAs, EAs, and so forth in a variety of firm sizes. We work with firms in the top 100. We also work with firms that they're just maybe 1-2 partners or just getting started. And my experience of sales and marketing, it spans way back. My first W-2 job I ever had was cold calling and doing marketing for a small business. And fast forward a few years, long story short, I got an accounting degree because I heard that accounting was the language of business. But my love for sales and marketing never went away. And when I was working for one of the big 4 firms, it became clear to me how much I could help accounting firms with marketing. So I started a marketing agency. And what did I do? I did what most everyone does when they are looking for a solution. I turned to Google to see, okay, what are the best, the greatest, and the latest marketing strategies? And what do you know? You find so many answers with so many people claiming that their solution's the best. And so it's really confusing, right? And along the way, I had to decide, okay, if no one knows me currently, I don't have a following, but I know I have to start getting visible by ideal clients to actually have a business. What can I do? Well, I could pay to get in front of people with ads, but when you're just getting started, you usually have more time than money. I could do email marketing, but I didn't have a list to email. I could blog, but this takes time. And if I posted a blog a few years ago, no one but maybe my mom, if I convinced her, would read it. So I was really stuck and I wanted a process where I could consistently get in front of ideal clients. So along the way, we discovered this process and we implemented it not just into Leaders Online that really helped us grow, but we ended up implementing it into firms. And firms started saying, hey, this process is working really well to attract clients. Do you think it would help us overcome the talent shortage? Could we use it to also attract talent? And lo and behold, it works amazing for attracting not just talent, but top talent. So that's the process we're going to talk about today. And after we go through this process, you're going to see why, yes, there are firms that struggle with the talent shortage, but there are firms that aren't because they're using this process. So I have a question for you if you're watching this live or if you're watching this on demand, just jot it down. Are you currently using social media to attract talent? Go ahead and note it down. Are you using it? Yes. We're trying, but we haven't been successful. No, but you want to, or no. Take a moment to just write it down. And real quickly, I want to cover the three things, the three ways that most firms kind of are traditionally using to attract talent and why they're challenging in today's world. Because let's face it, things have changed. So the first traditional way is going through recruiters and headhunters, where you can pay up to 30% of a year's salary. These are expensive. And then every time you need to hire, you have to pay this fee again. And you're at the mercy of the recruiter or the headhunter finding talent for you. What if instead you could reliably and predictably have talent coming to you so that you didn't need to pay a recruiting fee every single time? Wouldn't that be nice? Yes. The next common way is attending career fairs. And the problem with this is often you're a little fish in a big pond. Career fairs, they take a lot of time, they take a lot of resources. You have to have people physically there. You might have to pay for a fee to have a booth there. Often you provide little giveaways and knickknacks. And the truth is, while we can disagree with this, most universities, they push big four or large firms. I know when I went through college years ago, I didn't even consider joining a smaller firm. In reality, I should have considered it. And when I speak with up and coming talent today, they share the same similar experience I had. They really aren't aware of any opportunities outside of these large firms. So what if there was a way that wouldn't take the resources that a career fair does and allow you to reach these students who want to know what other opportunities are available for them? And finally, the third common way of recruiting is posting on job boards. And the big problem is these can be expensive in terms of resources, both not just in the cost that you pay to utilize the job boards, but the time it takes to sort through all those unqualified resources. So what's a better way? A way to have a predictable flow of talent coming your way without headhunters or recruiters. You could educate potential talent on career opportunities outside of just the big four or large firms, and make it so you don't have to post on job boards and receive just tons of qualified applications from unqualified prospects. Well, that is the 4C method, and it's built around the 4Cs: choose, connect, converse, and create. And we're going to dive into each of these, exactly what you need to do in each of these steps. And I also have a handout at the end so that you can get all of this, just what we're talking about today, as well as detailed notes. You can download it at the end. But this, in a nutshell, it's the foolproof way for you to create an inbound recruiting system. It's going to work for every single one of you. It's not going to require you to pay recruiters, headhunters, attend career fairs, or wait for someone to see your job post. And let me just preface that by saying those can work. But as we went through them, you can see there are shortcomings in them. And even if you are utilizing some of those more traditional ways to attract and recruit talent, this process, it's not going to take away from that. It's only going to add to what you're doing now. Okay, so the first step in this process is to just choose a platform to be on. You want to ask yourself, where are your ideal candidates? We're going to refer to them as your who. Where are they hanging out? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Are they on LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok? And what platform plays to your strengths? So let's say that you are wanting to attract some younger, new, fresh talent. And you decide, okay, they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, and they're on LinkedIn. But you say, you know what? I'm not really a fan of filming videos for TikTok, or I guess posting photos. You can do photos on TikTok, and the same for Instagram. But I'm okay with writing content. So you would say, hey, they're on these platforms, but LinkedIn plays to my strengths. And I will say LinkedIn's really popular because you can easily target talent based on their job experience, their location, and other important criteria. But if you don't like LinkedIn, then don't feel like you need to use it. So you're going to pick a platform. You're going to start with one and focus on just one. I'm going to go through the process of what you need to do on the platform, but you'll see that it's really important that you have focus and you don't try to be everywhere all at once. The next thing you're going to want to do once you've chosen it is you want to optimize your platform. So we will walk through how you can set up and optimize your platform, because there are a few key points we want to ensure that are covered. And I'm going to use LinkedIn as an example, but even if you aren't using LinkedIn, you can just apply these same concepts to the other platforms. So here are some key areas to consider as you're setting up your platform. Is your profile picture, is it the right size? Is it clear? Is it not distracting? And this is a big one. Is it up to date? We've all seen the pictures where they're a composite photo at a fraternity or sorority, and this person has supposedly been practicing for 15 years. Now, you may be laughing, but we do see it. So if your profile picture is more than 2 years old, go ahead and just take a new one. iPhones or any phone that you have today is honestly pretty good if you don't want to actually go invest in getting a headshot. There's also a lot of times if you go to a conference, you can get a headshot there. There's a lot of ways to get a headshot. Just get your photo up to date. And then background photo or banners, make sure they're also the right size, branded to your firm. And it's clear what someone can expect from following you. So do you share insights around growing a firm while having a work-life balance? Like, what is someone going to get from following you? Now, this next point is super important. This is your tagline, and it's right below your headshot on LinkedIn. Same with like Instagram, Facebook, X, all the platforms. Your tagline is key. No one cares that you're a partner at a firm or a firm owner. You want your tagline to speak directly to the person that you want to attract. It should tell people who you are, what you're on a mission to achieve or change in the industry, and what someone can get from following you. So I have two essentially frameworks here that you can follow to create this tagline. So consider what you're building or creating to achieve, and then what someone can expect from following you. So for example, on a mission to grow a 100-year profitable firm that's full of accountants who love their job. Follow me for content that shares how I'm doing so. Or you can do action, accountants to action, and the outcome, what someone can expect from following you. So empowering accountants to create a life they love so they achieve personal and professional fulfillment. Follow me for videos on how you can do the same. Now, I'm actually going to walk you through a process that you can use right now to go ahead and update your tagline, because that is often a place that people can always use improvement. So let's dive into some specific questions. And if you're joining me live, you can share your thoughts as you're doing this live. Or if you're on demand, just take the time to write this down and work through it. So you want to create a tagline that speaks to your who and share why your firm's different in a good way. So like we said, are you on a mission to build a 100-year firm? Or maybe it's to grow a $20 million firm. Or maybe it's to create a firm where everyone works 4 days a week. It's personal to you, and there's not a right or wrong answer. So ask yourself, are you on a mission to do something specific that the industry would care about? What's vastly different about working at your firm than others? Maybe you had some experience at a prior firm that caused you, when you created your firm, you're like, we are not doing this at our firm. We are going to be different in a good way. So like I said, write down the answers to these questions, put it on a piece of paper, in your phone, in an iPad, on a Google Doc. Just make sure that you take the time now to answer the question. And again, if you are joining live, leave a comment with your answer. And from this, like, what is the outcome? So maybe it was that you wanted to create a firm where everyone works 4 days a week. And that outcome would be accountants can prove to have a fulfilling life in and out of work. Or maybe it's that accountants love their careers, or they achieve professional and personal fulfillment, or they have a job that they never want to retire from. Again, what is the outcome of what you're on a mission to achieve? And then finally, part 3 of this, creating your tagline, is just what can someone expect when they hit follow? They need to know it's worth you showing up in their feed. So maybe it's videos about how to scale a firm and a team to 100 people, or posts about how to run a firm in 4 days a week, or maybe it's posts about how to find professional and personal fulfillment as accountant. So then once you have parts 1, 2, and 3, go ahead and put them together to come up with your tagline. Again, if you're joining me live, put it in the chat. I'm going to go back really fast to the prompts again. Or if you're on demand, feel free to DM me your tagline on LinkedIn, Katie Thomas CPA, with what you came up with, and I will get back to you. So again, follow these prompts. What you're creating, building that achieves, and what someone can expect from following you. Or action, accountants to action, and the outcome, what someone can expect from following you. Now, the next thing that's really important as you're optimizing your profile is the about section. You want people to understand who you are, why your firm, how you're different, who you work with and what your mission is, and then how someone should contact you, like a direct message, an email, a booking link, go to your website. How should they get in touch with you? You should also include some accolades. So if your firm has won awards for being a top firm or anything like that, put those there. It's super important. And you can also include a few more personal fun facts about yourself. You never know what is going to be the tie, the connection point between you and someone else. So maybe you're really into skiing. That could be something that really connects you with someone else and be a conversation starter. Okay, so we chose our platform. Now comes part 2 in this process. Simply having an updated profile is not enough to attract great talent. We have to actually go out and connect with our who's. And when it comes to going out and finding them, there's a few ways to do this depending on the platform. So let's talk about a few options and then you can decide what works best for you. So one, you can find them directly on these platforms. LinkedIn's really great for this. You can search by location, job title, years at current job, industry. You can even add in companies if there's specific companies that you would want to recruit talent from. You can also search for posts, and I'll show you on the next slide, but people will literally post that they're looking for jobs. So you could put like CPA in quotes with job quotes, open to work quotes, and you can find CPAs posting that they're looking for jobs. Groups are also huge. So when you look through groups on like Facebook, LinkedIn, different forums, you'll find people that say that they are looking for a new role. And some groups will even let you post on them that you are looking to hire. And then there's also hashtags. So a lot more accountants are getting active online today, and using hashtags can be a great strategy to find them. These are just a few ways to do it. Think about your platform and what will work for you, and then utilize one or all of these strategies. For example, we've had firms that just by using this first one have seen huge success, whereas 3 as well, constantly hiring. So there's not a right or wrong. You just have to figure out what strategy or strategies you want to use and then start utilizing them. So here's some examples of accountants looking for jobs. And note, they want to work for great companies. So that goes back to my first point. You have to be a great firm. And these type of posts, they're being posted daily. So think about, how are you going to find your who? Take a minute, write it down. It's so important that you start crafting your plan as we're going through this. Are you going to do it by finding them directly, searching for posts? Are you going to be in groups? Are you going to use hashtags, something else? What is your strategy going to be? All right. So we talked about that you have to first choose your platform. You need to make sure that you're setting it up correctly. And then you're going to go out and you're going to connect with your who's. Now, this next part, it's really important to think about. Okay, those people that you really hit it off with and you bond on a deep level. Like, what is it and why? Well, it's probably from the conversations you have. You create connections through conversation. So once we've chosen our platform, we've gone out, we've connected with our who. Now what? We can't just not talk to them, right? Like, imagine if you walked into a cocktail party and you did not know anyone and you just stood in the corner, what would happen? Probably nothing, unfortunately. We need to actually go out and we need to converse with our ideal talent and start building relationships. So how can we do this? Well, one, we can start conversations in the direct message. And it's kind of funny because you talk to people all the time. You have since you were really young age. Just ask my 2.5-year-old how much she can talk to people. But then you say, hey, go talk to some random person online, and they freeze. They're like, what do I say? I don't want to be salesy, spammy. And you don't need to be. You just need to be a human. And whenever you start by asking people questions, it allows them to open up and them to easily engage with you. So always start and focus by asking questions. So for example, you could send a message and say, hi, name. It's always fun to connect with other accountants. What brought you to this profession? And we got a question live right now. How do I message in the DM so it doesn't seem like spam or automated? That's a great question. So I like to, that's kind of like, hi, it's always fun to connect with other accounts in the profession. What brought you to this profession? That's a good like opener. But if you are afraid of it feeling like spam or automated, you can make it more personalized and you can start like looking at their experience. So like, hey, name, how's your experience been at PwC? I remember when I worked at, you could share like where you worked at and add like a little common touch point and ask them, something relative. So like I worked at PwC as an intern back in X date at their Dallas location. Find a commonality. If you guys are both accountants, there's often something there that you can ask about. You can even ask them something like, hey, you just got through busy season. Ask something about busy season or ask if they're taking time off for the holidays. Just find some sort of connection point. And again, you're in the same industry as them, so it should not be that difficult. But that's a great question. How do I message in the DM so it doesn't seem like spam or automated? And that's really the key here. We're not going for quantity, we're going for quality. And this next point I want to hit on is that you don't give up. So just because someone doesn't reply to your first message and they're not actively looking for a job today doesn't mean they're not going to circle back later. Your efforts, they're going to compound over time. And we see this all the time as we are working with firms where we might have messaged someone back in the summer and then come the end of fall, beginning of winter, it's like, hey, I have been seeing you online. It's really cool what you're doing. And we're going to talk about content here coming up. And I'm actually looking for a new job. Do you guys have any openings? So because they started that conversation, they started to build that relationship, it opened up the door. So starting conversations and not giving up is key. Another way to connect with people is to engage with their content, interact with their post, photos, leave comments, and then you can naturally transition the conversation to a direct message. So for most of us, we notice who engages on our content, and you can be that person who is being noticed on the other side just by engaging with someone's content. So think about now, what conversations can you use? Share them in the chat if you're joining me live. And if you aren't live, take some time to actually write them down. So maybe it's what brought you to the profession? How's busy season going? How'd last tax season go? What inspired you to become an accountant? What are your holiday plans for this year? What are some of your goals for this year? Those are all general questions that then you can tweak and make them more custom based upon that individual's profile, any content you see, anything like that, to really deepen that connection. And again, make sure it doesn't seem like spam or automated. That being said, when you think about yourself as a younger professional or even well into your career, when someone messages you that is clearly a real person by the way their profile is set up and everything they're doing online, like sharing content, and they ask you a question like, hey, how is busy season going? You're probably going to respond. I know, especially when I was even going through the recruitment phase in my life, I never had a partner message me. And if one would have and taken interest in me and wanted to have a genuine conversation, I would have been more than happy to. And that would have shown a lot to me about the firm and how they value creating connection. So make sure that as we're going through this, that you're actually strategizing and crafting your inbound recruitment strategy. All right, so we chose our platform. We're clear on how we're going to connect with our who's, how we're going to converse with them. Now, this is the final step. The final step is to create content. And once we start connecting and conversing with individuals, they're going to come to our profile. So it's really important that our profile is set up in the way that supports us and what we do. So we talked about how to set that up. And then the next thing is we want content on our profile to support our tagline, our bio, how our profile set it up. It should show them that what we're truly about, why our firm is different, how we're accomplishing our mission, how we're changing the game for other accountants. We want to demonstrate that we are someone who is leading an incredible firm. So the fourth C in this process is content. And the great thing is your content's not just for the people that you're connecting and conversing with. It's also there for the people who the algorithm says, look, this person, you are going out, you're connecting, you're having conversations with these type of people. The algorithm's then going to realize, hey, these are the type of people that your profile is best suited to reach. So it's going to push your content out to these new people. And so our content's there for both parties, those we connected with and those we have yet to connect with, that the algorithm is going to naturally push our content to. And content is really key in further building the know, like, and trust. So with content, I would say this is one of the biggest mistakes. People think that if I have a profile and I'm posting content, that's enough. Content is really just gas to the fire. If there's no fire and you just pour gas on sticks, nothing's going to happen. So you can't just be posting content and forget about the choosing, the connecting, and conversing. Content truly comes last. And yeah, it'd be great if our content could go viral, but the truth is that's not how most of us get our content seen by people. It's by building thoughtful connections online, training the algorithm over time, and that's how the content starts to spread to the right people. Now, the second thing when it comes to content is a lot of people overthink it. They think, I'm not creative, I have nothing to say, and I promise you have endless ideas and you can create great content. So a couple things to consider is think about the creators you follow and the podcast you listen to. Why do you follow them? So is it for education? Is it for entertainment? Something else? And then take that and ask yourself, okay, how can I recreate that experience for someone else? That's a great question to ask yourself. The next thing is, where do most accountants think they're right and they're actually wrong? So for example, maybe they believe that because they're accountant, they're forever going to have a busy season, and you're out to prove that's not the case. At your firm, you don't have that. Or maybe most accounting firms think they can wait to implement AI into their firms. But again, you're out to prove that implementing AI is a must because it frees up time for staff to work on more fulfilling work, provides higher level, better quality service to clients, helps your accountants have more fulfilling careers. What is it that you're out to change? Where do most accountants think that they're right and they're actually wrong? The next question is, what are your unique point of views? What myths does your ideal talent currently have? So maybe, for example, accountants think that to become a partner at a firm, they have to work full-time. We work with a top 100 firm, and they had recently promoted 2 partners who work part-time to this partner level. And whenever we created content around this, it was a huge unlock for a lot of accountants to see, like, hey, there is a path for me. I'm experienced talent, but I don't necessarily want to work full-time, but I do want to be partner. And it created a ton of interest in the firm because these accountants, they did not realize that they had this myth that to be partner, I do have to work full-time. So think about it. What are the myths that your ideal talent currently believes? How can you lead with your unique point of views? And finally, share stories about how you're living your truth. So if you promote a work-life balance, show how you're living proof of this. Talk about how you take trips, how you have time for hobbies, how you balance life. This doesn't mean you can't also share your struggles because we're human, but make sure you're not just talking the talk, but you're demonstrating how you walk the walk. So how do you have boundaries set aside time for these hobbies? What technology are you using to make it possible? What does work-life balance look like for your staff? We got another question. Is it okay to post about my personal life, or should I just focus on professional? So I always say that it's great if you're willing to share some of that personal life, because at the end of the day, we are all human. And what that looks like when you're sharing about your personal life, that's up to you. Take even like a famous content creator like Gary Vee. He doesn't share his kids online. That's just like something he does not share about. And that's totally fine. Just because you want to share some about your personal life doesn't mean that you have to share all about your personal life. It's unique to you, whatever you feel comfortable with. But I will say humans connect with humans. And so pulling in pieces of that can be the connection point that really helps you take that conversation to the next level because you have something to really connect on and talk about. Now, when it actually comes to making your content as engaging as possible, it's important that you structure it properly. So just because you have the idea and the content doesn't mean that it's easy to consume. One way to think about this is I'm just not naturally a funny person. And if the best comedian in the world gave me their script, if I read it, it would fall flat because I didn't present it properly. The same can be said about content, but luckily there's just a few things that can make a big difference when you're structuring your content. And I'm going to walk you through those. Okay, so I'll actually show you these in action on the next slide. But to give you a gist is one, you want to have a hook intro. So make sure you're leading with something you know that your audience wants to learn about or would be interested in. For example, here are 3 things any accountant can do regardless of their career title to progress their career faster. If I'm an accountant, I'm like, wait, what are these 3 things? So kind of think about like a movie trailer. It starts off with action to pull you in, make you curious, and you want to do the same. The next thing is you want to write to read. So what this means is it's not like your English class. You want to break lines or use lines to break apart your content and your text. Huge blocks of text that's overwhelming. No one's going to read it. Again, I'll show you on the next slide. The third thing is you want to end with some sort of call to action. So what do you want your audience to do? Do you want them to comment and share their experience? Do you want them to check out your careers page for job openings, something else? So if you've talked about an opportunity and you have an open position, tell them where to go to apply. You can't just expect them to know. And this is often like a really missed point. And the final thing is when you're creating content, you want to be aware of the fact if you're putting a link in the post. So if you think about it, LinkedIn wants you to stay on LinkedIn. They don't want you going to YouTube. Facebook wants you to stay on Facebook. X wants you to stay on X. And so if you want to maximize a platform, pushing your content out, you want to avoid putting links in the text. You can always say like, I'll drop a link in the comment within the body of the post, and then just like drop a link in the comment. Now, if you do want to put a link directly in the body of the post, and sometimes it's valid, and I do personally time to time, just know it's going to get less reach. So if you follow these 4 general rules, you're going to be ahead of 99% of people, and you're going to like take the same post, test out an old one where maybe you didn't follow these 4 guidelines, and then redo it following them, and you'll see a big difference. So here's the example. 1, start with a hook. I said, what's the best marketing strategy for you? I can't tell you for sure, but here's how you can find out. If I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, okay, how can I find out? I hit see more. I wrote to read, so you can see I don't have big blocks of text. I have lots of space between them. I use emojis and things to break it up. I add a call to action at the end, asking people where do their customers hang out, and I don't have any links. So those 4 rules, they're implemented, maximize people being able to consume and interact with my content. And the final thing about this content creation process is make sure you're creating content that you want to create. You don't want to get into the comparison game of they're doing this, so I should do that. Just think about what your who needs and create that. Turn off and silence people if you need to. Focus on your who, and then just let the rest go. All right, we've gone through the 4C method. Now, how do you actually use this? Well, you have to think about what you want and work backward from there. Reverse engineer a plan that takes you from where you're at now and gets you to where you want to go. Start by considering your end goals. Like, how much talent do you really need to have in your pipeline? And then what is that going to take to get there? If you're just beginning to build your brand online, it's going to take more effort than someone who's been doing this for months or even years. But this investment in brand equity, as I like to call it, it compounds over time. So as you're posting, as you're starting more conversations, a good strategy is to reach out to 20 new people a day to start conversations with. And once you do this every single day for even just a week or 2 weeks, you'll find that starting conversations, it becomes a lot more natural and you get really quick at it. From there, if you're posting helpful content 3 times a week, that's a great start. And say you're commenting on 5 posts every other day, you're going to make some serious traction over the next couple of months. And like I said, you are going to build your brand equity. So you don't have to do this forever and be doing that volume forever. And now someone often asks, do I have to personally do this? No. You could have someone on your team do this for you or outsource to an agency to help. But the key is that you do stay involved in the voice of the content and strategy so that this remains authentic to you. No one is going to have those unique insights that you have. No one is going to be able to come up with those ideas. Definitely not ChatGPT. So even if you outsource this to a team member or an agency to help you, make sure you're staying at the front of the content, because that's going to be key, as well as getting insight from, okay, what comments are being left? What questions are we being asked in the inbox? That's going to fulfill and further fuel this strategy forward to be like, okay, we're getting these questions. This is the type of content I need to create. These are the type of questions I need to ask. That it's a flywheel effect. And so that's why it's really important that you stay involved in the process, even if you aren't doing every step of the process. So as promised, you can get a copy of this 4C method. You can just go to my website. It'll walk you through everything we discussed today in even more detail. It'll give you examples on how to update your profile, messaging you can use to start having conversations, give you content ideas. Just go to leaders-online.com/inbound-recruitment, or you can scan the QR code. It'll take you directly to the website to get that guide as well. And it'll have everything laid out for you step by step so that you can implement this right away into your firm. With that, I want to thank you all for being here today. I hope that you implement the 4C method into your firm so you will never have to wonder where your next new hire is coming from. And thank you so much to Forwardly, our sponsor of today's webinar. Be sure to check them out. As mentioned previously, signing up for an account is free and incurs no monthly fees. I've used it myself. It's awesome, super easy to use, and you get your payments very fast. So head over to forwardly.com and sign up. And if you enjoyed today and you want some extra support attracting talent or marketing, then feel free to visit leaders-online.com to schedule a time to chat. Connect with me on social media. I'm Katie Thomas, CPA, on all social media platforms: LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X. You can find me there. And now I'm going to open up the floor to questions. If you have any questions, if you're joining me live, feel free to drop them in the chat now. Thanks, Jane, for joining us.
Today's event has ended. To earn CPE, go to earmark.app or scan the QR code on the screen. Then log in or create your free account. Search for the course by tapping on the magnifying glass icon on the home screen and then entering the name of this event. It takes a few days to make the course, so if you're attending this event live, keep an eye out for an email letting you know when the course is available. Pass the quiz to earn your CPE, then tap the button to email yourself a certificate. Stay tuned for more events from Earmark. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.